What town are you hunting near?
Private land is just south of Jackson. I mean, I can, you know, I'm kind of just looking at state land either on the way down or, on the way back. I mean, it doesn't have to be necessarily that area, but that's where I'll be spending, I guess, the majority of my time when I'm down there.
I'll do a quick rundown of your area. Now, this is just a general location that I pulled up in right south of Jackson. This is pretty much the standard regiment that I go through whenever I'm going in and e-scouting a new location. Let's key in on this little piece here. I'm pretty much going to just go and mark all the potential points for potential bedding locations. So now, did you have a chance to look at it on a map already? That piece of private?
Yeah, a little bit.
All right. So this kind of goes almost exactly just like we were talking about, what Wayne was talking about. You got this box right here is going to be your various canopy heights. You can see it growing in there. Rather than your, like over here. And Google Earth is way better than Onyx Maps, in my opinion, for showing this kind of stuff, for the most part. But here you have basically a multi-level canopy, an uneven age class forest. This is going to be your feed zone. There's going to be trees that are going to be low enough for them to browse on, and then there's going to be canopy trees that are dropping acorns, blah, blah, whatever your hard mass is. What I try to do is I key in on the edges of this stuff. Like I mentioned earlier, deer are going to be creatures of habit or creatures of edge. We throw up the topo. We got a bedding point there, and then I'd even throw in a bedding point, got a potential bedding point there. The way that they're going to use this is just like, to me, it seems like they do it the same way all the time. The wind's going to be at their back, and they'll either be looking down at the thermals. The thermals are coming up at them. So a northwest wind coming this way, they're going to be bedded on this point, looking this direction. That's typically only when they're going to use this point. Same thing for this, northeast or northwest wind. Wind's going this direction. They can see everything over here, look down this hill. The problem is with, at least I think the problem is with Ohio is you have so much food. You really have to kind of decipher how much pressure you're dealing with. So that private land, I don't know, is it a bunch of guys hunting it? Is it just a couple?
I know the neighbors hunt and can bait down there a lot. So, I mean, I'm going to assume that it's going to be pressured.
All right. So you're looking at some fairly decent pressure. I would say if you're looking to shoot anything half decent, you're going to be looking at relatively last hour of light being your prime movement time. So your next stage is to look for transition areas, or not transition areas, staging points before they get to food. And this could even be a potential bedding area. This is where you kind of need to put boots on the ground. This box is going to be your staging area before deer are going out and feeding in here. How would you hunt this box? Where would your stand sites be based on a northeast wind, using the topo and all that?
So this northeast wind. So
this is going to be your high point too.
Well, you'd want to be on that, I guess, that southwest side of that small box, or because if you got a you said northeast wind.
Correct.
Yeah, so the southwest side of that box.
Okay. Now, what are your thermals doing for an evening hunt?
They're dropping.
Right. So you're going to have a northeast wind pushing this way, and this is where you really got to kind of use your brain. The wind has to be strong enough to push your thermals out into the feed. Let's say you're hunting like a 3 or a 5 mile per hour wind. That's not really going to be super strong enough, especially in canopy, to push your scent out of there. So now your scent's going right down into the potential bedding area, or this could even be a staging area. So it's pretty much worthless to hunt there unless you have a higher wind. Let's say you got a northwest wind. Here's your money spot. You can even potentially back up a little bit farther and get back on this ridge just like Wayne did, like almost the exact same thing, where you're using that ridge to basically drive your thermals down. It's going to be flirting with danger, but you could potentially push your thermals down straight like that, right off this ridge. I wouldn't overlook these little drainages like this. I don't know if you listened to the podcast with Zach Gensler and Eric Spiroff. It was a hill country buck one, but we talked about basically fingers like this. These are excellent staging areas for bucks to come up. Once you figure it out, it's almost like they all do the same thing, especially the older age class ones. These are all going to be drainages. They're very highly likely going to have water in it. Maybe not now with the drought. I don't know what it's like out there. But what they'll do is they'll stage right here before they come out in the feed in this. Wait for cover the entire night or right before dark. Smell this entire field and everything up in here because it's all getting sucked down here. And you set up somewhere here on the bottom side and you smoke them right in front of you. Those stand sites are the ones that you need to be real careful with as far as making sure you pick the correct tree. That deer is going to be coming out slow to you. Like they're not going to be busting through there not paying attention. He's going to be coming through slow. He's going to be smelling the entire area. You want to have good backdrop behind you. You want to have, make sure, drop milkweed, do your windicator, whatever you got. Make sure that your wind is basically just skirting this staging area. Do you hunt stuff like that, Wayne, out in Ohio?
Yeah, what actually what I was gonna kind of say here is a lot of guys want to hunt the fields because that's really enticing, the field edges. And I would highly recommend not hunting the edge of fields. A lot of times what your deer will do is they'll come up into the, like, especially if you have red oak or white oak acorns, they'll come and they'll stage in the woods and they'll eat those acorns before they go out in the field at dark. So if you put your stand right on the edge of the field, the deer will come out right at dark or if not after dark. So sometimes you're better off to get 100 yards off the field line back in where the food's at, and the deer will spend a lot of time there before, dark, sort of thing.
Yeah, by the
hunt food.
By the time they get into the fields, it's already dark and you can't shoot them anyways.
Exactly. So
It's kind of the same thing up here. It's, obviously you get those sometimes it works, but I found that, most of the time that, it's too late. You can't see them.
And if the mass crop's dropping, they'll be working the acorns over the fields in, late September, early October, because there's better nutrients for the deer. So you're going to want to focus on your mass trees that time of year.
Keying in on those staging areas, like just to kind of tag on to what Wayne had mentioned there and Brian. Here's your drainage, here's your entrance route into the field that they're still going to feel safe being able to smell this entire field. If you got a red oak or a white oak tree here, that's your kill site. But you don't know. That's the kind of stuff that's really hard to do on X without having that history tool to be able to see where the oaks are. I assume Ohio is relatively like Pennsylvania. There's oaks everywhere.
Yep. The other thing that I would just hit on real quick is your access to get into something. Like in the evenings, the deer are going to be in the fields, so you don't want to go through your fields to get back to your vehicle. You're going to blow all the deer out. And the same as in the morning, you don't want to walk through your fields to get to your stand. You're going to blow all the deer out. So you got to have that access through the woods, like in the morning to get to your stand, and then in the evening after you get out of your stand, you got to go through the woods to get away from the deer in the fields too.
Yep.
So access is really critical when you're hunting close to fields.
Yeah, think of it just like the thermals when you're hunting a bed. Like you can't really mess around. If you're hunting a bedding area that hunt was unsuccessful and the deer below you, your scent's pulling down to them. Like, just doesn't work that way. You got to figure out a way to get in there undetected, obviously. Come on, load up. All right. So here's pretty much a prime example of basically all your maples and stuff changing, your tulip poplars changing, your black gums. so on and so forth. Green, maples, maples, maples. Here's your stand site for that location. Remember I drew that drainage through here? Right here's a pretty decent oak flat that I would set up on. I mean, here's the staging for an oak flat. This is more so going to be your mixed maples and stuff like that. I mean, you could almost write this off